let me get back to our presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lucas, who is going to share with us from the Aztec Center. So Lucas, go ahead and take over.
I am once again joining you all from the virtual world. Welcome everyone to STEM again. This is part 2 of my presentation. This week I'll be more focusing on Aztec Lab itself and how it utilizes simulation and technology to help our future doctors get better at their job. I have a little presentation set up. Let me go ahead and share that. Share screen, if you don't mind me taking over. There we go. So before we get started, I'm sure everyone has questions about the avatar I'm using. So we'll just get that out of the way first. So this avatar was created using AI coding to scan a picture of my face and created this avatar based on what I look like. I basically imported that file into a kind of software called Spaces that utilizes VR itself with hand tracking and computer software. So I could use this avatar while in this virtual space. So basically I can see my monitor. I have 2 monitors set up. I can see both of them while I'm presenting in VR. Just checking. Does anybody have any questions about that and how that's done? So yeah, it's basically a 3D space. I can grab this camera and move it around and look at it. Let me show my camera right here. So you can see, like, I can see Zoom chat here. I have Zoom chat set up as well as the PowerPoint. I can teleport everywhere I want to go, like blinking. So it scans. So I basically put a picture. I saw a picture asking how it scans. I sent a picture of my face. It uses AI technology to measure the depth of my face, the shape of it, and create this avatar based on that. How does it help? Well, I have a little remote control that I can use to move around. It's with my hands. So I can click a spot and just teleport to there. So we'll continue now to the scan computer. Okay, I guess I can. So I can teleport around. So this doesn't require anything super crazy. There's a lot of different programs that do something like this. You can look up virtual avatars, anything like that. They'll use basically the same system. So anyone can really do this. The only difference is I have a setup where I can use virtual reality. I have a headset and controllers and everything that are plugged in with sensors that sense my body, where I'm standing in the rooms. I can lean, I can move down. So it scans my space in reality and transfers it to virtual reality. I could even put my controllers down like this, and the scanners will pick up my hands if they'll just give it a second. Let me move farther away. There we go. Okay, there's one. So now it's scanning my actual hands. So it uses hand tracking as well. So this can be used for more complex things, like where you actually need to use your hands and practice your hands instead of touching a controller. So this is just advanced AI hand tracking, which is really cool, I think. Which is we just actually got this, so I thought I'd show everyone. This is like the new technology coming out in virtual reality. Yeah, so I'm in VR right now. Like I said, I don't see the actual computer. I'm in virtual reality, so I'm using that through the meeting. So I can see the presentation here. I can see the chat on this screen over here. Yes, it's possible to move the stuff in the house and like change and everything. There's different virtual environments. I don't want to mess with it right now because everything's set up perfectly the way I want it. But I know you guys have more questions, but I'm gonna start with the presentation now. So if you have any more questions at the end, please feel free to ask or during about the presentation. So to get things started, I work at Aztec Lab. For those of you that weren't here last week or the week before, I'm sorry. We're currently at Aztec 3, which is the third incarnation of the lab. Basically, the lab started out as a closet in the old U of A hospital, and it moved up to a study room, and now we're in our own basically floor on HSIB, which is the Health Science Innovations Building. So we went from 3,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet. So we're literally 10 times bigger, and we are trying to utilize that space to teach residents, anyone interested in medicine, from like Arizona Lifeline to residents, fellows, anyone in the medical field to come practice at our lab. So I have some nice pictures set up to show you guys. This is the view from our floor. As you can see, right in front of you is the U of A campus and the parking lot to the building. We're on the 7th floor, so we're really high up. So you can basically see all of Tucson from where we are. There is the hospital. So on the bottom right is the College of Medicine. That's where the library is, all the classrooms are. Right in the middle there is the old hospital. And on the left is the brand new hospital in Tucson. So we have a nice view. Everyone from the hospital can walk over to our building and come practice medicine. So this is what the inside of our floor looks like. We have it's called the sim deck, we call it. It's a mobile deck we can use to change into anything we want. We can move tables in there. We can move our mannequins, any supplies we need. Everything's on rolling wheels. It's very flexible in what we want to do. We also have a giant projector screen with a three projector setup. So it uses 3 different projectors to display one image. So we can put things from a forest fire, a desert, anything to make it seem more realistic to the people using the lab. Right here in this picture, I think we have, these are EM quarterly. So every quarter, EM residents come in, they have to practice skills and whatnot. And this is a picture of just looking down at them, seeing what they're doing. Very cool. This is just a different angle of where you can see. So we have on the board, we have an actual timer where they can see where they're switching stations. So they can keep track of time. We have other timers on the wall. You can see some stuff happening in the rooms behind it. We have different stations set up. It's a very big space where we can have a bunch of people at once. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we have to limit the number right now, but this is obviously before. So once everything gets back to normal, hopefully everyone starts masking up, we drop the curve, we'll get back to more simulations like this. Again, different angles. So this is the 8th floor looking down at our floor. So it gives you perspective how big the space is. Any questions on the sim deck? So like I said, our floor is located on the 7th floor of the Health Science Building. It's a relatively new building next to the hospital. These pictures were from a year ago, I believe, or 2. I think there's only one picture that I'm in, unfortunately. I'm not a big fan. It's sim deck. DECK, like a sim deck, like a deck where you put things. Stations, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different rooms on the sim deck. We have the pre-hospital room, the intensive care unit. We have an actual OR, an emergency room, an operating room too. We have an intensive care unit where patients come in that are more susceptible to illness. For this station, we're only using a few of the rooms. The main sim deck is where mostly things go on. Each room usually has a mannequin in it for that specific case. What do you do operations? We have an operating room actually with an operating light and a very expensive mannequin that we went over last week. How do you control your mouse? Like I said, my fingers, I can literally point. I can point and like click to the next one. How many? There are 9 floors in the building total. We only use the 7th floor. The first 6 floors are for students, so they can come in, study. There's relaxing rooms where you can sit down and relax in. Yeah, my hand is a mouse. I can click and move. I can look at the chat right here and click and whatnot. But we're going to continue on. The next part is what we call mission control. It's the control room. So this room controls the whole lab mostly. This is where I live. I'm in charge of like the IT / simulator side. So I make sure everything's up and running basically on this. I like my job because I'm involved in medicine as well as technology, both things I'm very passionate about. So I really enjoy what I do. If you couldn't tell, I'm basically in VR giving a presentation right now. So that's I think that's a win in my book. Anyway, this is mission control. We have different computers set up. Each computer can connect to every mannequin on our floor. They can run it. We can have, I don't know if you can see right on the screen, we have a camera set up so you can see into every room and have the students in the room while you're in here controlling. We can control the mannequin, how it breathes, talks, reacts to the patients. What we learned is that if the less people you have in the room, say the teacher is with you in here controlling, that's why we have 2 people set up. So I'd be on the left and they'd be on the right watching in the room. They can talk in. There's a headset. They can talk into the patients and the students. So if the teacher's not there, you're more inclined to think for yourself. I'm sure a lot of you have been in school and asked a question to your teacher, or your teacher asks a question like, what's this answer? And you kind of look at them and like kind of trying to get a response from them if you got the right answer or not. If your teacher's not in the room with you, you have to critically think for yourself. And that's what we're trying to achieve. We want the people out there to try what they know and not try to figure it out based on the teacher. Yeah, so this is where I am when I'm there. I am wearing a headset. So right now I don't see my actual room, my house. I see the virtual world. The clock. So that's just a timer we use for switching stations. So here's a better view of what I'm talking about. So we'd have one person looking into the room. There's the vitals on the monitor, what they see of the patient. The other person would be controlling it on the left. So it's a really good setup for simulation. Everything's wireless. You can connect to the mannequin, control it from outside, teach from outside. It's a setup for remote teaching. Yes, I'm at home right now, actually, yeah. Again, we have up to 7 different mannequins can be run at the same time. Here's an example of that. We have some big trainings where we actually utilize that. A bunch of different rooms are being used at once. The numbers, yeah, there's some numbers on this. You saw on the previous screen. The main vitals we look at are SpO2, which is the oxygen in your blood pressure, heart rate. Those are the main things we look at when it comes to mannequins. Those are the big signs you can look for. Actually, I think this is the only photo. I'm right there in the red in the very back. You can see my beard and the red shirt way back. This is the only picture I'm in, actually. I made sure I don't like pictures of myself. But 7 mannequins. We have too many mannequins, actually. I think we have over 20 different mannequins. We have child simulators, so little babies. We have premature babies, children, adolescents. We have 1-year-olds, 5-year-olds, adults. We have anesthesia mannequins, which are used to breathe. They can breathe and talk and whatnot. They're very advanced, basically as much as a house. We have every different style of mannequin that you would need. Okay, so moving on. Here's some pictures of real simulation training that we do. Yes, they do have old people mannequins. Yes, they have every style, because in simulation, we want to be as real as we can be. So you're not always going to see the same plain old Joe, that you would see in like anything else. There's different kinds of people with different body types, different sizes. You wouldn't do CPR on a child the same way you do at a person. So simulators have to adapt to that. So we have like different sizes, different shapes. You have to practice on everything you can. So here's some examples of pictures we have with real training. This is the Pulmonary Residence. So these are people who focus on the lungs, how you breathe. We have special trainings for them. They can practice helping you breathe. It's called intubation, where you can't breathe by yourself. They put a tube down your throat so it helps you breathe. That's a very important thing to practice. So they can come into our lab and practice doing that on a mannequin rather than a person, because if you practice that in an emergency situation and you're not comfortable doing it, it might not be the best time to mess up. So instead, our lab helps prevent that, so you can practice it, be more confident with it, and do it when it really matters. And just another image of what's going on. So this is a CMAC, as you can see on the right. It is a camera that can basically see down the throat and see what's going on inside of it. They can practice using that in our lab as well. Just more use of technology utilized in our lab. They could practice helping it breathe. That's a breathing mask. They can practice pumping it and actually seeing the chest rise on the mannequin. The mannequin has fake lungs in that one, so the chest would rise and fall like it's breathing. Reaction with the software. Yeah, so the mannequins have different reactions. Like this one, you can see his eyes are closed. We did that because he's unconscious. So you can have him blink, you can have him look around, you can have him cry tears. He can talk. We can make him talk. We can say things in the mic to make him talk, or he has preset voice lines. Another example, this is Moby. This is mobile transport. So these are the people that get ready for transporting the patient if you have to move to a different hospital. So we set up a mannequin. As you can see, there's all the stuff set up to him. This is a critically ill patient. So he's set up being transported to a different hospital that can help him better. So they come in, practice moving him, putting him in the ambulance, and sending him off to the next hospital. So here's some really cool pictures of it. They come in, like I said, hook him up, strap him up, make sure he's nice and secure. They have a little monitor to monitor his vital signs. They set him up, put him on an elevator, go downstairs, load him up on the ambulance, and practice doing that in real time and timing themselves and getting better at it. Again, something you couldn't practice without a mannequin or some other type of simulator that you wouldn't be able to do with a regular person. Yeah, so it's basically as close to a real person as you can get. That's the point of mannequins. You want them to be as real as possible. It's not a crash test dummy. That's why we don't call them dummies. They're mannequins because they want to be as real as possible. Here's another, again, a really cool picture of them actually putting him into the ambulance. Like I said, it's really cool coming along with them and seeing their process and whatnot. Another good aspect of the job, basically. Lastly, this is Arizona Lifeline. So these are the peoples in the helicopters that come and pick you up when you're in danger out there in the state. They'll come to like forests, canyons, and they'll come pick you up. Or if you're in a rural hospital, like somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and you need to be transported somewhere like Tucson or Phoenix, they'll come pick you up and take you there. So we're helping train them, keep you breathing alive while you're being transported in the helicopter, which is very hard, because if you think keeping someone alive normally is hard, they have to do it in a cramped, tight little helicopter. So they have to really practice that. We can simulate a small space that they have to train on. We create like an artificial helicopter for them, put the mannequin in, and they can practice on that. The mannequins cannot walk, thankfully, because that would be scary seeing them walk around at night. I would not want to do that. Below their necks, those are the pink things are the lungs. So they can practice bagging them. It's called bagging, air bagging. They can see the lungs expand and contract, so they can know if they're doing it correctly. Because when you're bagging someone, you want both lungs to expand, so you know that air is getting inside. So we're the only Aztec lab. There's other simulation buildings all over the world, but we're the only Aztec lab. So just different names. We have different things than other ones do. Yes, we also work with Border Patrol. They have military helicopters, much different. This is just one example of the many people that come into practice with us. As you can see, more bagging going on. They're practice intubating as well. We have other trainers that we use that we just recently got that involve technology. This is the Anatomage. It's a virtual cadaver, which means it's a dead body that's fake. It's a touch screen. You can touch the screen. You can move it. Look at different layers of the body. It has a skeleton. It has organs. Basically, doctors have to examine bodies in real hospital training. If they don't want to do that, because some people don't want to do that, they can come in here, practice that on a fake body, learn each part of the body, each structure, all the names, and look at it in real time in a 3D space. Again, another use of technology and simulation that we're trying to use to advance learning. Yeah, exactly. It's an autopsy simulator. It's a body that you can look at. There's different cases like bullet wounds, anything, a cut, injuries it can simulate. They can look at, zoom in, expand, like they do in the shows and stuff, look at it. This is TEENA. We call her TEENA because it's just what we call her. She's transesophageal electrocardiogram. So it's TEE simulator. Transesophageal means it's through the throat. She's also a TTT, which is transthoracic, which is your chest. Basically, you use her for ultrasounds of the heart. You can look at pictures of the heart on the monitors right there on the screen. Unfortunately, I have a picture of it being active, but it has two different pictures you can see of her using the trainer. It just pictures 3D pictures of the heart. So if anything's wrong with the heart, it's not beating right, it's too big, anything like that, you can see on the monitors. Just checking for questions. She doesn't have arm and legs because she doesn't need them. It's just for the chest and lung areas. So she doesn't need any of that. And that is all for my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions. I see that Jacob, I don't see your question, Jacob. The mannequins have AI versions of the mind. No, none of these mannequins think for themselves. The closest we have is a mannequin that can react to gases. So say you put in oxygen or nitrogen, it'll react to that accordingly, but they don't think for themselves, thank goodness, because that would be not a good thing. How can you be on VR? So it's just VR, and I'm sharing that as my video. That's how I'm doing it at the same time. Yes, TEENA is for radiology. It's also for anyone in cardiology. They can see the heart, all the models. How do I change the camera? There's a little camera in front of me, so I can pick it up and move it. That controls how I am being seen. What if you mess up? That's the point of training. It's practice. It's a mannequin. It's better than a real person. We want you to mess up on the mannequin rather than a real person. So it just helps get better at it. Yes, exactly. The mannequins were to help practice the medical field. In the past, when you're a doctor, the first person you would try a procedure on would be the first time you do it. So we're trying to help prevent that, because if you mess up, it's a really bad thing. So if you mess up on a mannequin, it's much better than a real patient. It's a little complicated if you mess up on a real person. If you willingly do it, that's called malpractice. There's a whole thing about that. Doctors have to pay a lot of insurance to make sure they don't get in trouble for that. Yes, there's different operations we can do on mannequins. We can actually cut them open. We can practice doing actual procedures on them. The mind, we're actually setting up a simulator that's a virtual brain surgery, basically. It's for urology. They can practice doing brain surgery through the nose. It's our own thing we're coming up with at the Aztec Lab. I don't have any photos on it, unfortunately, because it's something that they keep quiet about. Yes, through the nose, yes. Sometimes scary. Like I said, if they were walking around, it'd be much more scarier. Mannequins can be some are made to be cut open. They can be fixed easy. Some of them are more complicated than that. Would it not be good if the mannequin could think for itself? Some mannequins can range from $10,000 to $8,000. We have one worth $100,000, basically, much as a house. But that one can breathe. It has its own container for oxygen and nitrogen. That's only used for the more advanced simulations, though. Yes, they can wear out. They can be used too much. Someone does control them. There's always someone operating the mannequins. The lungs are made to be like ours. They can expand, contract, they can breathe. If you don't intubate them correctly or put them in the right spot, they won't breathe correctly. Basically, quick little knowledge dump. Your lungs are right centered. So if you put a tube down your throat too far, it'll only go into one lung. You want to practice putting it right between the two where it splits off like a T, where it gets into both lungs. That's a big thing to practice. What if you do give nitrogen instead of oxygen? Sometimes you want more oxygen than nitrogen. The mannequin will respond. If you give it too much nitrogen, it might pass out or not breathe correctly.
I think we have time for one more question, Lucas.
Okay. Mannequins help manipulate certain viruses. We don't have any mannequins for any bacteria or viruses, but we do run simulations based on how people would react to viruses. 2 years ago, or last year, 2 years ago now, because 2021, we had a pandemic scenario, which is very ironic because we're in a pandemic now, but we got a bunch of medical students and people from each field and practice what they would do in an actual pandemic, how they would respond, what would their most important ideas be. And fortunately, we found some good information on what would happen. But we can't physically practice with viruses and bacteria. There's just no way to do that. The closest thing, actually, when I think about it, we can practice putting on material on a mannequin that's, say, infectious. And if the resident or student doesn't practice proper procedures, they can get it on their hands, on their body. It's really cool. It's like dust on your fingers. And at the end of it, you get a UV light and you scan them and see if they're covered in the dust at all. So you can see if how easy it is for bacteria to spread.
That's fascinating. Well, Lucas, thank you so much. This has been just a great wealth of information. And I'm sure you've got a lot of people excited about it. Hopefully, once we're able to have people back in, coming and visiting the Aztec Center. And we look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you there. And I can tell you, with all the IT issues I've been having today, I sure wish you were here running this for me. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We look forward to seeing you again, and I'll see you in the building sometime.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed it.